Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 8. This wild ride is so close to coming to an end. Let's jump into it. Okay, recap for week 7. Just a reminder to get your focus question response posted to group 3 by tonight before midnight. And then reminders related to the research paper draft. If you submitted an incomplete draft, I did give you feedback based on what you submitted. And I've got kind of a placeholder grade listed for you, but I would like you to submit a second draft by this Wednesday. So contact me if you have any questions about that. But and go ahead and email that to me. I may have contacted you and said post it to turn it in, but just email that to me. And then also your peer review of the research paper draft. I've extended that to this Wednesday just to kind of coincide with those of you who didn't have a complete draft submitted last week. Okay. I want to go over just some feedback about the research paper. So in announcements, I've got lots of great praise and news because I think you all have, I know you worked really hard on getting these out regardless of how many pages you submitted. I encouraged you to submit it even if it was incomplete. So there's no grade penalty for that. But I do want to point out some things that I kind of saw maybe not in every single paper, but in enough of them that I think it's important to highlight some of these things. So top of the list, I want you all to really take note of the comments that I made regarding working on paraphrasing and summarizing rather than using long quotes, direct quotes, or just repeated series of quotes. And I realized that I advised many of you to avoid that practice, and then we're reading a textbook where like Miriam and Barima do that pretty consistently, but don't follow them as an example. My advice is definitely focused on helping you succeed in writing your final paper for MSIDT, and you will get a ton of feedback on having too many quotes in your paper. So now's a good time to just get that practice under your belt. And you may not be able to tackle it completely for this final paper, but please make some attempts to practice paraphrasing. And let's see what else. A couple of you did a good job of using transitional sentences to kind of connect one topic to the next. I know that wasn't necessarily in the outline, but it's just a good standard of writing, particularly for academic writing. So take a stab at that. You can look at Day's paper as an example. Also look at Day's paper for examples of paraphrasing and summarizing. She did a good job with that. Everyone, I have been providing you all with APA resources. Please use them. Please contact me. Please contact a friend if you need help with APA. But you've got to get that down. Again, some of you may end up still with a few mistakes by the time you submit your final paper, but some of you really have a good grasp of APA. If your peer review partner is one of those people, rely on that person to help you get your APA tightened up. So refer to the resources. I tried to point out as many places where you needed to correct APA style formatting. But I can't guarantee that I caught all of them. So if you find some, fix them. And if you have questions, please reach out. I want to help you. Let me know what you need. Okay. There's also, I noticed what I'm referring to as kind of editorializing. So some of you were writing kind of your thoughts and your opinions, right, about your topic. And that really isn't appropriate in the literature review section. So if you're someone who got those notes, like move this to the discussion or take it out of the literature review section. That's what I was referring to. You don't want to, lit review is for a summary of the literature that you reviewed in support of the arguments that you make in the assertions that you make in your introduction, the arguments and opinions that you write in your discussion and conclusion. Please take time to proofread. I know that sometimes you're just scrambling to get something in by the deadline. Okay, that was for the draft. Make sure you allow yourself enough time to do proofreading and pay attention to verb tense, your missing words. I tried to point those out if I caught them. And then proper use of parts of speech. So use Grammarly. It's my last plea. Please use Grammarly. When I'm reading your paper, I know that some of the things that I pointed out, Grammarly will point them out for you as well. And so it's just a nice tool. It's free. Just click on the link. I think I've added it across a number of weeks. Install it. Get used to using it. It's your friend. Okay. Our learning objectives, as always, linked to our reading, and these I really focus more on embodied learning. Our group 4 actually included learning objectives for their presentation, and they focused on spirituality and learning. So I think we've got you covered. And of course, I know that because I'm recording this on Monday morning. My apologies, everyone. Required reading. I've got some extra reading for you guys this week. It can carry over into next week, but obviously our chapter 7, I've got a couple of optional reflection questions, and then I've linked some Grammarly resources for you. So these are all in areas that I think everyone could benefit from just taking a look at these and being familiar with ways to avoid some of these writing errors that we all run into when we're writing. So verb tense, parallelism, which means, are you, if you say, oh, well, today we're running to the park, we're kayaking, and then we ate instead of saying and eating, right? So just make sure that all of your verbs are in alignment, and this resource will give you some better examples than I just gave. Active versus passive voice. You always want to do your best to try to make sure you avoid passive writing. Again, Grammarly points these things out. It'll say passive, try to fix this, and it'll give you examples of how you can make it the writing more active voice. And then the last one is a focus on concise writing. So really just paying attention to not having more words than you need to include in your sentences and paragraphs to get your point across. So just what you need to get your point across, and really focusing on getting one main point out per sentence, not loading the sentences up with a lot of multiple points where it could be a little confusing for the reader. So please view all of these. The little checkbox thing is there, so it will, I think I said it, that it will mark that you've done it once you click on the resource. I think I did it that way. Reflection questions, these are also listed in the Module 8 book. And then I just put together a couple of quick highlight slides for embodied learning. Again, pointing out to you that as Miriam and Barima did in the chapter, or if you haven't read it yet, you'll see this, that they have a pattern in the way that they pull the chapters together, and they're kind of stepping us through. So now that we're in chapter 7, and as we did last week in chapter 6 as well, we're seeing those connections between these more modern and embodied learning is kind of, it falls into non-rational, as opposed to the rational learning theories like the ones we read about in the beginning: behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism, and how that's all tied in. So just reiterating the same points that were in the chapter about experience, right? Where we have already read about experiential learning, some of that in constructivism, some of that in situated cognition. Andragogy, one of the 6 assumptions is experience, right, of the adult, and how that is not only the experience that they bring, but how that experience also serves as a source of learning. And then transformative learning as well. Okay. And these are just some highlights of the different places where embodied learning can be found. Again, pulling this directly from the chapter. Our assignments are the group 4 chapter presentation. Again, we're going to do the 2 posts, and you'll see that in the assignment link. So you're going to do your peer feedback by this Thursday, and you're going to do your response to group 4's focus question by Monday. I've actually already looked at their presentation, so there's a lot of interactive pieces to engage in their presentation. So please participate in all of those. Thank you. And live chat is this week. So if you missed our first session on the 26th, please try to join us. Cynthia says required, but come if you can. I'd really like to get some FaceTime. That's like a joke. Okay, some FaceTime with you all, and I'll be on at 7 in the Zoom room, and that's linked in the week 8 folder in announcements. So, and then this week I've got resources that kind of extend some of what you're going to read in the chapter about embodied learning, and since the book was published in 2013, these are going to be some kind of current applications and what researchers and practitioners are doing around embodied learning, and also bringing in some how technology is being integrated into the process as well. So that is it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and a great week.